Okay, today we're going to be discussing 6 Pokemon from Generation 2 overused that fell from OU into UUBL or lower in Generation 3. So starting off here, we have Executor, who is a Generation 2 staple, and in the viability rankings, Executor is rated number 7th in the game, and some people would arguably say it's top 5 in the game. I'd be one of those. So Executor set, we have the standard set, which is Sleep Powder, Stun Spore, Giga Drain, and Psychics. One of those sets. Sometimes you can just run Sleep Powder or Stun Spore in the first column here, and then run Explosion. That way you have a hard-hitting physical move that can counter a lot of Pokemon that will come in on either Giga Drain or Psychic. Because a lot of times Pokemon that are weak to Giga Drain or Psychic are weak to special attacking moves while being more resistant to physical attacking moves. And because of the max IV systems in Generation 2, you can utilize that base 95 attack, when in Generation 3, you can only utilize your special attack by putting IVs into it. And you can also, sometimes people will run Leech Seed on a Executor set. So like Stun Spore, Leech Seed, Psychic, and Explosion usually on that set. And then we have Golem. Golem standard set is Rapid Spin, Explosion, Earthquake, and Roar in Generation 2. Rapid Spin, it's one of the best Rapid Spinners in the entire tier. Explosion, which is just a great move because Explosion in older gens halves the opponent's defense before doing 250 damage. Earthquake as a good stab move, and then Roar. Golem's extremely good because not only does it have high attack, but it has high defense, so it's able to switch in on a lot of key Pokemon such as Snorlax and be able to get hazards off. And in Generation 2 overused, Golem was rated number 13th in the tier. Next up, we have Nidoking, who has fallen off in more recent years, but is still a great OU-mon. Lovely Kiss, which is a 75% chance to put someone to sleep. Earthquake, Ice Beam, and Thunder are used. Sometimes you can switch up the moves, as I'll pull up the moves here for Nidoking. Sometimes people run Thunderbolt over Thunder, and sometimes people will run Flamethrower as a surprise fire move. But the great thing about Nidoking in Gen 2 is he, just like Executor, makes good use out of the max IV system, as you can utilize the 85 special attack as well as the 92 attack, and be a great mixed attacker in the tier. Next up, we have Steelix, who is an amazing counter to Snorlax because it can resist Snorlax attacks and have that bolstered 200 defense stat, made even further by max IVs. The great thing about Steelix in Gen 2 as well is that because it's a steel type, it can't be toxic. So, like a defensive ground type such as Golem can be toxic, Nidoking can't, and Steelix can't. And being a ground type that can't be hit by toxic is really good in a tier where toxic's used on a lot of Pokemon. And we'll just check the viability rankings first to see Steelix is considered number 8 in the tier, which is pretty crazy because that's considered even higher than Starmie is in the viability rankings. So right below Executor. And sometimes on these sets, you'll run Curse, Rest, Earthquake, Explosion, but pulling it up quick. Sometimes people run Body Slam, which is good to get Paralysis, or Roar as a phaser. A lot of times, though, if you already have a phaser on your team, whether it be Golem or different Mon, you don't need to use Roar, and you can just use Explosion. Next up, we have Umbreon, who has Charm, which is a great move that can lower opponent's attack by 2. Umbreon's utilized a lot on stall teams in Generation 2, as it lasts a long time with that 110 defense and 130 special defense and good 95 HP. So it can survive a long time, can rest up to recover, especially if you have a Blissey on your team with aromatherapy to make it wake up from rest. It can stall for a long time, pursuit Pokemon that are weak to dark moves to try to stop Pokemon from being able to spin block with ghost types. And Charm is just great to lower attacks by 2 if a Pokemon like Snorlax is trying to set up with Curse, or even Steelix or another monster trying to set up with Curse. And in Generation 2, let's see where Umbreon was ranked. I feel like Umbreon's rated number 20, right below Jolteon, and 2 below Nidoking. Lastly, we have Mischievous, which is a Paris Song Trapper. It uses Perish Song, which makes both you and your opponent pass in 3 turns. Mean Look to trap your opponent, Rest to heal off damage, and then obviously you can pivot out on the last turn, making your opponent faint while your Mischievous is still alive. It usually runs Thunder as well to hit a Pokemon like Cloyster hard. Cloyster is the number 3 most used mon in the tier, so having a move to hit him is very good, and just having that added ability to spread paralysis is also very nice. So now we're going to be going into their Gen 3 counterparts here, talking about the fall off. In Generation 3, Executor fell to UUBL, and in Generation 3, even though it's able to have the ability of Chlorophyll, which doubles its speed in the sun, having to have the IV system where you can't utilize that good physical attack is a lot worse than in Generation 2 when you have maxed out IVs. So what Executor usually does is try to put a Pokemon to sleep, set up the sun, and utilize that hard-hitting Solar Beam that doesn't have to take a turn to charge in the sun, and Hidden Power Fire is a good coverage move that's also bolstered by the sun. Next up we have Golem, who very unfortunately loses Rapid Spin in Generation 3, so it can no longer do the main function that it once had of Rapid Spin. It still has Roar, however, but a lot of times in Generation 3 you're just going to see, you won't really see Golem hardly at all in Overused, and in Underused it usually utilizes a Choice Band set where you're just trying to utilize that 100-ton attack stat to hit hard with Earthquake, Explosion, Rock Slide, and Double Edge where you don't take recoil because of Rock Head. Next up we have Nidoking, another Pokemon that was hit hard by the IV system, because now instead of having max attack and special attack, you have to choose points between the two. Now, Nidoking is still a mixed attacker as it runs Earthquake, Megahorn, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam, which is a very similar set to the Gen 2 set, but it's just worse by the fact of the IV system. A lot of Pokemon that were once good in Gen 2 that do end up falling off is because of the IV system. Next up, we have Steelix here. Steelix is still doing a similar thing of resting to healing up, Roar to phase Pokemon out, Earthquake and Explosion. Steelix is pretty still okay in Generation 3, but it's when Steelix was once in Generation 2 considered Generation 2 is considered better than Skarmory and Fortress. Now because Skarmory has hazards and Fortress has gotten a lot more value out of Rapid Spin now that Golem doesn't have it, Steelix has found itself falling off quite a bit. We'll pull up the viability rankings here. Yeah, Steelix is down really far. It's considered an E rank, which is kind of outside of Overused, and it's one of the lowest Pokemon on E rank, so that just shows you how far Steelix has fallen out of favor. And if you go on this ranking chart too, is like Executor is not even on this list for viability rankings on that, and Golem or Nidoking aren't on this. Well, Golem and Nidoking aren't on this list either, I don't believe. Unless Nidoking's near the bottom, which I don't seem to think it is. So that just shows you how far these Pokemon have fallen out of favor. And next up we have Umbreon, who also was hit hard by the IV system, not having maxed out defense and special defense, having to put some in both. Wish, Protect, Toxic Pursuit, pretty similar to Generation 2, but it didn't have Wish. So still kind of that Solymon healing up Pokemon. Synchronize is a good ability because it can, if you're status, it statuses your opponent, and if you have a Heal Bell user or Aromatherapy user on your team, you're able to heal off that status. So it still has a decent niche in Generation 3, but not near as good. Checking the viability rankings here, it is ranked in the viability rankings of OU, but it's considered the E rank, which is Pokemon that are usually considered not quite good enough to be considered an OU threat. But definitely better than some of the other Pokemon on this list, like Mischievous, which is, I think, is a UU mon. Let me check quick. Yeah, it's UU in Generation 3. It's still doing the same thing of Mean Look, Perish Song, Destiny Bond, and Protect. Destiny Bond is new, which can almost guarantee that you can at least make one opponent faint if you can trap them. But the main issue with Mischievous compared to a lot of Pokemon is it doesn't hold up in Generation 3 with having very low stats across the board. It can still be utilized on stally teams, like if I go to Generation 3, There's this stall team from Tetrafolium here that utilizes a Mischievous with a similar set, but instead of Destiny Bond, you have Thunderbolt to hit water types hard, which is still pretty good. Unlike Thunder, though, but it doesn't always need that extra power. So there you have it. There are 6 Pokemon from Generation 2 that fell off in Gen 3. There's much more than just these 6, but I think these are the most drastic fall-offs, especially Executor, Golem, and Steelix all being in Generation 2. Those 3 Pokemon were all top 10 level threats that fell off very hard. Well, top 15 level threats that all fell off really hard. So I hope you like the video. If you like these kind of videos, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you like Generation 2 and Generation 3 content, I have 2 playlists linked on my YouTube channel with a lot of Generation 2 and Generation 3 content for you to watch. So there you have it, folks.